Hello class, this is Demetrius Wilson with Human Resource Management, back again as promised with Chapter 4. If I can get the slide to switch, right? So Chapter 4, and we will be discussing recruitment. If you work for a company, own a company, a lot goes into recruitment of the proper and correct individual to work for your company. If you don't recruit the appropriate individual, then you're basically throwing money away because eventually you'll have to replace that individual, which costs money for internal employees, advertising, all kinds of different things. So we'll talk about how that turns out as far as the financial frontier goes. So our learning objectives, as always, go as so. Discuss the need for forecasting human resource needs and techniques for forecasting. Forecasting meaning we need to prepare and understand how many employees for ABC that are going to be needed. You have to have a good understanding. Now, none of us have a crystal ball, like I've said before, but you need to have a good understanding and a good estimate, right? A reasonable estimate as to how many people we're going to need for each department. You want to explain the steps of an effective recruitment strategy. So, what is your strategy as far as a recruiter goes, or your strategy as a human resources department involved in recruiting? And then third, develop a job analysis and job description, right? So you have to analyze the job first, obviously, and then create a job description. And then that's what people will look at and say, do I have the qualifications to complete this job successfully? So the recruitment process done a lot differently by many. A lot that do it well do some have some steps that are very similar. Recruitment is the process that provides the organization with a pool of qualified candidates. So we're looking for a pool of qualified candidates, and from that pool is the pool that we're going to pull one of the individuals that we select for the position. But we want a pool of qualified candidates because if we look at everyone's resume and we say, you know what, I'm going to pick this guy, Joe Schmo, because his resume looks better than everybody else's, then you may end up with someone that you really don't want because you haven't interviewed them, you haven't talked to their references and things of that nature. Maybe they're just really good at putting together a resume. Then proper staffing plans and forecastings must occur first. So you must have a proper staffing plan and then forecast what you need and what you don't need. And then that's when you go into the recruitment process, right? You don't just recruit a whole bunch of individuals, interview them, and just say, well, now we don't know what to do with them. It comes as a necessity, right? Because you're paying that individual to interview these people as well. They could be doing more value-added activities as opposed to interviewing people for no reason. So forecasting, dealing with internal factors, budget constraints, right? There may be some constraints on how much money we can spend for each of these individuals that we want to bring in. Expected or trend of employee separation. So it's not as easy as, hey, I think John's going to leave the company. Let's just replace John. That's hard enough itself. But what if John is a manager and he's going to take all of his 10 employees with him to the new company that he goes to because it's one of your competitors, right? So you have to understand that there's always what you call risk involved in terms of people leaving and separating from the company. And it leaves a big gaping hole. And how do you fill that hole if people just start jumping off ship, by fives, right? Five people leave, then that's a lot for you to handle. And can you recruit people fast enough to fill that gap? Production levels, right? So you want to look at production levels. We'll take Macy's for example. Production levels, more sales are going to happen near Christmas, during Black Friday, during things of that nature. So that's when you're going to be fully staffed. Now in August, you might not need to be fully staffed, but you have to know when your peak levels of sales and production are. Sales increases or decreases, just like we talked about. You have to know like when it's go time. So think about it at a car dealership. You want to work on the weekends because that's when people have time to come to the car dealership, right? They're not going to be there Monday during the day, or at least not the people who have jobs. They don't have to go time to go until the weekend. And global expansion plans. Do we have plans of expansion to move further into some type of market in a different country? Further expansion within our own country, domestic. Those things attribute to the forecasting and how many employees that we'll need to suffice in regards to completing the duties that our business requires. So external factors for forecasting, changes in technology, right? So technology changes, we have to change. We have to shift with technology. As I joke about all the time, if the electricity goes down and I can't do anything on the computer, I might as well clean up, right? Clean up my desk, and after that, I have nothing to do. We can play solitaire, or we can go home. Changes in the laws, so laws have changed, so it may impact our forecasting, how quickly we can or cannot get someone in the door, and what we can do with temps and things of that nature. Shifts in population. What if we're in a town, I have a company, and then everybody leaves for some reason, right? And then what if there's a shift in population where everybody comes in? So just think about that. If you see something come up like we're in throughout Los Angeles and Orange County, and you look at that, if a football team comes here, how many jobs is that going to provide? It's going to provide around 30,000 jobs. And then what's going to happen to the housing market in and around wherever that arena is? And it's going to go up. The prices are going to go up, and they're probably going to build new condos and things of that nature. So you have to understand the cyclical nature of business and how these things are all intertwined and how they all affect each other. Shifts in urban, suburban, and rural areas. So just look around you and see some of the things that you've seen. So if you go downtown LA or downtown Long Beach, you'll see these lofts, and they'll have businesses up to the 13th floor, and then above the 13th floor, they'll have lofts that people can live in, and then they have like an eatery and a pool on the top of the building, things of that nature. I mean, just great things for people to say, you know what, I work downtown, I live here, I come downstairs, I can walk right to work, I can go to the grocery store, everything's right there at your fingertips. Just a different type of urban living. Now, if you want a little space in the backyard, of course, you're going to have to, go to the suburbs and get a little bit more space. And then there's always competition. So if you have a lot of competition, right, then it's highly likely that you're going to get the right type of candidate, and maybe you have some wiggle room in regards to how much you're going to pay that individual if you're on the employer side. But if there's no competition out there, then that individual kind of holds all the cards in their hand, and they say, hey, you know what, I need for you to pay me this amount because I know that you don't have anybody else out there that can do what I can do. Aspects of a recruitment strategy. So you have your staffing plan. Confirm the job analysis correct through questionnaires, right? So when you analyze the job, go through, talk to people and everything, then you send out a questionnaire to ensure and verify that you have all of your information correct. Write the job description and job specification. So now I'm going to write out the job description. This is what the job is going to entail, and the job specification. These are the type of qualities, attributes, and skills that you need in order to be successful at this job. Have a bidding system to recruit and review internal candidates, qualifications for possible promotion. So there may be someone within your organization that can be promoted. I see so many positions pass by, and people just don't even take a crack or get a whiff of possibly moving to a bigger or better position. Determine the best recruitment strategies for the position, right? So different people are going to recruit for customer service rep versus vice president of sales, right? It's not going to be the same recruiter, right? Different type of skills, different type of skill set. So you have to determine the best way and who you're going to use. Are you going to use corporate recruiter? Are you going to use the internal recruiters, things like that. And then implement a recruiting strategy. We've said that throughout the slides already. You have to put your strategy in place. You have to know and understand what the company needs, get in alignment with that, and then put your strategy in place as far as recruiting the right individuals. Job analysis is a formal system used to determine what tasks people perform, right? So you want to understand, what do you perform? As simple as writing it down, putting a list, putting an Excel document and sending over to me, and I put down, this is the position, and these are the things that position is responsible for completing. Helps ensure creation of the right fit between job and employee. So if I know what these employees need to do, then I know who I need to pair up with that position. And review job responsibilities of current employees. Right? So you want to look at the current employee, what are you currently doing, get that information, and then we put together our job analysis. Job specification is a list of tasks, duties, and responsibilities of the job, right? So these are things that the people do, specifically what they do. So it goes into a little bit more detail than the job analysis. Then job description. So job analysis, job specifications. Then we have our job description. Identify skills and abilities based on the job analysis and job specification needed to be successful at a job, right? So you need to be able to do these things. Now, if you don't meet every single criteria on that job description, does that mean don't apply for the job? Definitely not. Right? There are things on there that sometimes people don't qualify for, but they bypass it after they get in the interview and say, you know, you're the type of individual we're looking for. We'll work on that other aspect that you need help with. So there are two types of job analysis. Um, Task-based analysis focus on job duties required. Specific tasks are clearly listed, such as assist customers with product questions, right? So it specifically says this is what you need to do. Competency or skill-based analysis is focused on how much a person applies skills, and more objective, such as ability to utilize data analysis tools, right? So we can't tell you specifically what we want you to do. That's why we need you. We need you to come in and understand what we need, and then go ahead and go out and do it. But these are skills that you need to in order to be able to do so. The job analysis process. So job analysis questionnaire to all employees, organization of employee data. Job analysis is written for each position in the organization, right? So if you haven't done that in a while, that's something that you can institute or raise your hand and say, hey, should we be doing this? And job description, job specifications are written based on job analysis data. Job description should include these things: job functions, the tasks the employee performs, knowledge, skills, and abilities, what an employee is expected to know and be able to do, as well as personal attributes. Education and experience required, right? How much education do you need? And physical requirements of the job, so ability to lift, see, or hear. And sometimes, you know, if you haven't had a job where there are physical requirements, you don't think that that's the biggest of deals. But way back in yesterday, I used to work in this warehouse, and they called me for the morning shift. So I went to the to the warehouse for the morning shift, and we were stacking ribs. I mean, these were huge, big, like cow, brontosaurus, Fred Flintstone ribs, and we were stacking them, and we're stacking them pretty high, probably about a little under 6 feet high, and they were heavy. And it was a guy, and he had a very slight build, and he was shorter, and he just couldn't get it done. And as soon as he stacked maybe five on top of each other, he was standing on his tippy toes trying to stack them. They would fall over, they would break, and they said, hey, this shift is definitely not for you. All right, so another learning objective: explain the Immigration Reform and Control Act, Patriot Act, and Equal Employment Opportunity laws and how they relate to recruiting. So, Law on Recruitment, Immigration Reform and Control Act, adopted in 1986, requires employers to attest to their employees' immigration status, makes it illegal to hire or recruit illegal immigrants, responsible for subcontracting, and you must be able to show I-9 forms for all workers. So some of you guys were in that time period when you were working. I know some of you were. Before, you didn't need that I-9. Now you have to be able to show the I-9 form for all of the workers. The Patriot Act, as a result of 9/11, enhances the federal government's ability to conduct domestic and international investigations and surveillance, and obviously you can see why. Employers' implementation on new procedures to maintain employee privacy rights, but still allow releases of requested information. And then the Patriot Act amended Electronic Communications Privacy Act, which allows for easier access to electronic communications. The equal employment opportunity laws. Employers with 15 or more employees, that's who it applies to. No discrimination in hiring due to age, disability, genetic information, national origin, sex, pregnancy, race, and religion. Right, we talked about that on the last, in chapter 3. So disparate impact when discrimination occurs due to the type of hiring process used. And we also talked about that, remember, for the chapter 3, when we said, hey, if you're just doing the referral program, you may end up with people that are very alike. Disparate treatment: one person is treated differently than another for whatever reason. So another learning objective, explain the various strategies that can be used in recruitment, right? Maybe you're trying to recruit the biggest and best person at whatever it is. So you want the best engineer. And maybe you're not. Maybe you're a little bit further along in the product development and you say, we don't need the best engineer, we just need a pretty decent engineer. So you have to have a certain type of strategy, but HR doesn't know that strategy unless the managers convey that information to the human resources department. Recruitment plans specifies where you will recruit and timelines, right? So what are you looking to do? Are you going to go to college to recruit? Are you going to recruit individuals in grad school? Are you going to recruit people in certain cities and certain states? Recruiters. This is a specific individual who focuses solely on the recruiting function. That's all that they do. Now, if you're just a person in human resources, you may do recruiting, you may do other things as well. But that's specifically what the recruiter does. They have executive search firms, so they're looking for a CEO or CFO. Temporary recruitment or staffing firms, that's like Apple One or Kelly Services, something like that. And corporate recruiters, a lot of different headhunters and individuals that are out there, and they have relationships with these companies, and then they go ahead and place you or me into that position. More recruiting strategies, campus recruiting, right? So if you're looking for a young, strong core for the company, then maybe you want to go to the college campus, find out who's a senior, find out when they're graduating. Are they staying wherever the campus is, right? So if you went to UCLA but you're from Nebraska, are you staying in California? And then selecting between those individuals that meet that correct criteria. You have professional associations, good way to network, find the right people that you know, websites, social media. So just think about that. Like I talked about before, I was looking for two individuals to hire, didn't have their phone numbers, asked the HR individual to look them up on LinkedIn, found them, hired them. Great story, good to go. Social media, events, special interest groups, right? So special interest groups mean that they're probably only looking at a certain set criteria for these SIGs or special interest groups. And then referrals, right? So it could just be like, hey, we're going to go off of only referrals because it's been working so far. Let's put it out there, see how many referrals come in, and then we'll go from there and see if we need to open it up to the public, right? So these are different methods, right? And then the advantages and disadvantages. So outside recruiters, right, can be time saving, but they can also be expensive. Campus recruiting, you can hire people to grow, right? But it may have may reduce the impact that you have in the short run. Recruitment method, professional organization association. Advantages is industry specific and networking with individuals that are within your field. Disadvantages may be a fee to place an ad, right? And it typically is, and may be time consuming to network as well. Websites, internet recruiting, right? Diversity friendly, low cost, quick, right? Something that you kind of get through pretty quickly. But you must be prepared to deal with hundreds of resumes and sort of filter through those resumes and find the exact right ones. Website, internet recruiting, like I said, that one's diversity friendly, low cost, quick. Social media, same type of thing. It's inexpensive, right? Very inexpensive to to log on to LinkedIn and connect with people, but it's also time consuming and overwhelming response because you're going to have a lot of people there. So events, accesses specific target markets, and it can be expensive. SIGs or special interest groups, industry specific, research required, right? So you got to do a lot of research for that one. And then referrals, higher quality people. And how are they higher quality people? Because you're not going to just get some average schmuck that that's going to come and be hired by the company and interview and then kind of represent you, right? You want to pick your friend that's like the best, and that person also is going to know that, hey, I don't want to mess things up for Demetrius, so I'm going to do things the right way. Disadvantages, concern for lack of diversity or nepotism, right? So you think about nepotism, you can't have a father in a department, he's a manager, and then the son is just an employee. So try and steer clear and far away from that. Cost of recruitment, and that's always great to know and understand. So you have to think about this, and this is a formula. It's always good to take out these mathematical formulas and say, hey, this is how we uncover what truly costs. And so the cost of recruitment is cost per hire, equals advertising costs plus recruiter costs plus referral costs plus social media costs plus event costs divided by the number of hires in the time period, right? And that's going to give you your cost of recruitment. So your yield ratio looks at how effective recruiting methods are, percentage of applicants from one source who make it to the next stage in the selection process. So even though it's HR, it still kind of goes back to numbers and the things that we could do with these numbers to say we need an accurate forecast, we need to hire the right people, and we need to make less mistakes. So that's it. That's slide 24 for chapter 4. As always, make sure that you take your quiz. Make sure that you're going through the assignments and everything that you may have. If you have any questions, just be sure to email me and I will respond. As always, have a good day and a great week.